okay? All right.
I hope he's okay. Okay, just for some items, just if anybody is not speaking, I would ask that you please silence, and you don't even have to have your video on at the time, just because there's going to be a lot of people on here and it'll be hard to control. So until you're called upon, please keep your video and microphone shut down. Thank you. The meeting of the Revere Zoning Board of Appeals will now come to order. Roll call, please.
Roll call of the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Mr. Bucilli is absent. Mr. Lemonna,
He's on mute, Ashley.
Here, I'm sorry.
Mr. Lemonna is here. Mr. Lopes.
Here.
Here. Mr. Pelton.
Here.
Here. And Chairman Tucker.
Here.
Here. Quorum is present. First item on the agenda is application A20-26 on the application of Delmy Lemus and Carlos Garcia, 951 Revere Beach Parkway, seeking multiple variances to enable the appellant to construct an addition.
Is the applicant or the attorney present?
I believe Mr. Donahue is here, Attorney Donahue.
Attorney Donahue, if you can just unmute yourself.
There you go. How does that? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Thank
How
you.
you doing? Sean Donahue for the applicants, Delmy Lemus and Carlos Garcia. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a matter that we've been before the board now for the last few months on an issue of a sewer easement. So when we last before the board had agreed to submit a request for an opinion from the city solicitor in connection with the sewer easement.
And that's correct. So we did receive an opinion that this is on a private property and that we would be able to vote on this just with our conditions, the three conditions that I'll mention. One would be if the rights authorized by the variance are not exercised within 1 year from the date of it being granted, it shall lapse. The variance shall not be valid until the applicant records the variance in the plan with the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds and submits the document numbers and dates to the city clerk and building inspection department. The applicant must receive site plan review approval prior to applying for a building permit. If those conditions can be met through the attorney, then I would ask if there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak, please use the raise hand, or I do not see anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this. So any proponents? Hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. The attorney, would you honor those conditions, sir?
Yes, one question I have, for the sake of clarification, it's my understanding that this matter has been before site plan review. We obtained a denial letter from Mr. Stringy in connection with that review. Are you saying that we have to go back for further?
Yes, if we approve something, it has to go back to site plan review for review. All matters in front of the ZBA have to go back in front of site plan review.
That's, I guess, in response to your question, I respond affirmatively.
Thank you. Are there any members wish to speak? Then I would ask for a roll call.
Shall the Zoning Board of Appeals grant the relief requested for 951 Revere Beach Parkway, subject to the conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals? Mr. Bucilli is absent. Mr. Lemonna?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Lopes?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Pelton?
Yes.
Voting yes, and Chairman Tucker.
Yes.
Yes, the variance has been granted, subject to the findings and conditions of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next matter on the agenda is application A2108 on the application of Seda Perez, 95 Prospect Avenue, seeking multiple variances in order to construct an addition and a deck that is already attached to an existing garage.
Is the applicant present?
I don't see anyone, Chairman.
No, I don't see any attendees. Just because we have a lengthy agenda, I would ask that we can move on to the next calendar item number and take this up at the end.
Okay. Next application on the agenda is A2109 on the application of Diane Jones, 202 Rumney Road, seeking a variance of section 172401A of the revised ordinances of the city of Revere, minimum side yard setback for decks to enable the appellant to construct a deck at 202 Rumney Road.
Okay, Diane, you can.
Yes, I'm present.
All righty. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes. Diane Jones, 202 Rumney Road, Revere.
Do you wish to add anything to the application? It's pretty much spoke for itself.
No,
Okay. Seeing that this is a public hearing, my first question would be, was this addressed with the ward counselor? Did you speak to the ward counselor in your area?
no, I don't think so. No. No.
Mr. Chairman, if I might,
Yes. Okay.
I did review the application. I did not receive any phone calls from any of her neighbors. And if Ms. Jones can say that none of her neighbors in the immediate abutting homes have an issue with it, I would be okay with you moving forward with a vote on it tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I did not receive any phone calls or anything from any of the neighbors about this.
Okay. Thank you, Counselor. Seeing that it's a public hearing, I'll ask if there's any proponents, anyone in favor? Looking at the attendees, I don't see any hand raised, no comments. I will close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Any members wish to speak?
Looks good with me.
I would ask for a roll call.
Chairman Tucker, will you be adding the same conditions?
Yes, I will. I'll state them into the record.
Okay,
This would be approved contingent on the conditions. If the right authorized by the variance are not exercised within 1 year of the date of the grant of this variance, the right shall lapse. This variance shall not be valid until the appellant has recorded the variance and the plan in the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds and submits documents, recording numbers and dates to the city clerk and building inspector of the city of Revere. The applicant must receive site plan review prior to applying for a building permit. Do you agree with those conditions, Diane?
Yes,
Okay, then I would ask for a roll call.
shall the zoning board of appeals grant the relief requested subject to the findings and conditions of the zoning board of appeals? Mr. Bucilli is absent. Mr. Lemonna?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Lopes?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Pelton?
Yes.
Voting yes, and Chairman Tucker.
Yes.
Yes, the variance has been granted.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Next item on the agenda is application A21-10, JEK Enterprises LLC, attention Joseph Koch, 7 Franklin Street, Revere, Mass., appealing from the decision of the building inspector of the city of Revere respecting the determination as to the current use of 7 Franklin Street, Revere, Mass. 02151, as set forth in the order to correct dated January 19th, 2021, and states in pertinent part, neither the NB zone nor any asserted grandfather use of the property supports any of the structures or premises being utilized for a 24/7 business operation, particularly with a movement of noise generated from large vehicles and construction material.
Okay, seeing that there is a lot of people in attendance, I'll just put out our basic rules is that applicant's representative will have up to 5-minute presentation, and then anyone else who wishes to speak will have up to 3 minutes, just so we can stay in line with our calendar tonight. So is the applicant's attorney present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the video isn't being allowed for some reason. Oh, maybe it is
Hold
now.
on, Attorney Simeoni. Let me just change something here. Excuse me. I should be able to start now.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, my name is Attorney Larry Simeoni, and I represent JEK Enterprises LLC of 7 Franklin Street, Revere, Massachusetts, and Joseph Koch, its manager. The focus of this appeal is 7 Franklin Street. It's 1.84 acres. It is in the NB district. It has an office building that's 2 stories. That's 3,485 square feet. It has 3 warehouses and a garage, the latter constructed in 1954. The issue before your body is the appeal of the building inspector's January 19, 2021 decision, which was stated in the beginning of this meeting by the Honorable City Clerk. At this point, Mr. Chairman, I have spoken at great length with Councilor Serino, and we would like at this point, at least I would like, and I believe Councilor Serino also agrees, that we'd like to don't move forward with the applicant's presentation, but rather continue the matter to the next meeting while we have a neighborhood meeting in the interim to discuss with the neighbors directly the issues that have been said to exist in communications and in conversations. We feel very confident that we can try to resolve those issues and then return back within at the next meeting to say that we have resolved them and how we're going to resolve them and what plan we intend to put. So that's what we'd like to do. And then after that, we'd like to deal with the zoning issue.
Okay, thank you. What is the wish of the ward councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To Attorney Simeoni's point, he partially misspoke because I did agree to a neighborhood meeting. However, I would leave a continuance to your determination. I'm not advocating for or against a continuation of this matter. If I might speak for just a brief moment to give you a little bit of a history, obviously this is specific to the 24/7 issue, but there has been a lot of issues that have kind of boiled up to this point between the neighborhood and Clean Joe. Now, I want to say from the start, I am in no way trying to put Clean Joe out of business. Joe Koch has a good reputation outside of Revere, and I know that it was before COVID that he moved in. And I'll be honest, there were issues prior to COVID that neighbors had expressed. And I personally had invited Mr. Koch to meetings of the North Revere Neighborhood Group because before COVID, we were meeting pretty regularly. At the time, Mr. Koch declined to come to a neighborhood meeting, and this kind of all bubbled up through the pandemic. And now here we are. And now through his attorney, that he is requesting a neighborhood meeting. So I would go forward with the neighborhood meeting, but I do, my sympathies do lie with the neighbors. As I said, there have been a lot of issues, and the issue at hand tonight is the 24/7 issue, whereby residents who live in the area, and it's not just one specific neighbor, it is multiple neighbors of his abutters, have expressed that prior to the city getting involved a few months ago, there's a separate business in addition to Clean Joe that's called Board Up Kings, and through that subsidiary, it's not 24/7 in the sense of like when you think of a Walgreens 24/7, but there were many nights residents claim, 3 to 4 times a week last summer, where trucks would be coming in and out of that paper street back there, and they would be loading up and going to a Board Up project and then coming back late at night. So I don't want to get too into the weeds on this, but I would support a neighborhood meeting. However, I leave that to your honorable body's discretion. And I know that there are neighbors here tonight. I don't know if we want to move forward. They did take time out of their schedules to come tonight. I don't know how you want to proceed, but I will leave that to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Seeing that it's a public hearing, I do have to ask for proponents and opponents. But it is the request to continue, and especially where it wasn't presented already with the ward councilor, that's our normal policy, is that we ask it to go forth to the ward councilors. As you notice, if someone, that's the first thing I ask is the start of the meeting. If the person didn't speak to the ward councilor, then we normally would continue the hearing so that the questions can be asked and raised and answered, and then it could come back to us if so choose. So what is the wish of the other members?
I'd like to continue this. I'd like to see that everyone get together and trying to hash it out before we hear everybody's reason for this. Whatever.
Okay,
All right,
anyone else?
I'll just.
Sorry, Edlund. I'm for a continuation if it's going to resolve matters and if they can hash out things with the neighbors. I mean, it's the right thing to do.
Backlog?
I'll just agree what Arthur and John says. That's it.
Okay. Ashley, do I have to continue with the public hearing or?
Yes, the
Can this
public
con-
hearing was scheduled
Okay.
for this evening. It's the same
All right.
procedure that I follow for public
Goes
hearings in front
forward.
of the city council.
Even though if we're going to continue this, we still,
It's,
Have
the
to
public
continue.
hearing was advertised for this evening.
okay. Are there any other proponents? Anyone in favor that wishes to speak?
Mr. Chairman, Council President Zambuto is also here. I don't know if you can see him on your screen, but he has his hand raised.
Okay, yes, I do see his hand raised. Council President Zambuto?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would say that I'm in favor of continuing this. I really believe that with a neighborhood meeting, most of these issues can be mitigated. And although, there's a lot to be said as to whether you determine this a 24-hour business. And even if it's in the zoning not to be a 20, there's a lot of issues, but I think it starts with meeting with the neighbors and trying to mitigate their concerns. And then, the other stuff is trying to overturn the inspector's ruling. There's a lot of ambiguity in the zoning for this neighborhood. So I think it really starts with trying to mitigate what's bothering the neighbors and then go forward with the rest of the issues. So I'm in strong favor of a continuance so we can have that neighborhood meeting and try to work some of these things out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. And are there any opponents? Attorney Brown, if you wish to speak, you may do so now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to protect the procedural posture, we're here as an opponent to the substantive appeal. As to the request for a continuance for a board meeting, we defer to the ward counselor and to and to the honorable body, I think the request for a meeting and to try to hash things out before they get into further adversarial setting does make sense. So I have no issue there. I do think if any of the neighbors have concerns about it being put off, they should be heard. And I would just say procedurally, what we did do in the order to correct to kind of facilitate this discussion is we said we would defer zoning enforcement. While we had this kind of discussion, we hope to have it before there was ever even an appeal. And so we would just stand by that position that while we are deferring zoning enforcement in terms of taking any orders to court or issuing any fines or cease and desist, we did expressly reserve the ability to do so if we felt at any particular time that became necessary. And so with any continuance, we would just maintain that same position.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? No, okay.
Mr. Chairman, there is a.
I do see some hands raised, so I'm trying to get over there. Do I have to do anything, Ashley, or can they I just allow to talk, right? Okay, John, if you could state your name and address for the record.
John Riccio, 24 Franklin Street, Revere.
Okay.
It sounds very reasonable to have a meeting with the neighbors. I know that sounds like a good thing to do, but you have to know a little history. Like Councilor Serino had mentioned, we had invited him to 2 neighborhood meetings, and then we sent an emissary, a fellow named Jamie, who's a friend of his, who's also part of our neighborhood organization. He owns an auto repair shop on Salem Street, to go and see him because he said he could ask him personally to come in for a meeting, and he didn't. He's been avoiding us. And tonight's agenda is just about 24/7. There's a lot of other issues that I think the neighbors should sit down with him over, but the 24/7 issue is a law issue. This can be prepared to go ahead tonight. It can be resolved tonight.
Okay, so you're just speaking on behalf of the zoning issue? You have the right to do that. I will ask if there's anyone else who wishes to speak on that, and I believe it's Rob. If you could state your name and address for the record, please. You have to unmute yourself, Rob.
Unmute. Now try.
Oh, there you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name's Robert Palmisano, 38 Franklin Street, Revere, Mass. I am opposed to Clean Joe. I feel that we should go forward with this 24-hour operation part of it, because I'm a direct abutter and it has been quite a nuisance for quite a long time with the 24-hour operation of in and out. And I just feel that the board should go forward with this and do something about it.
Okay. Are there anyone else that wish to speak? Seeing no other hand raised, I'll close that side of the hearing. There is a motion to continue. I would ask for a roll call from the members.
Sure. And Chairman Tucker, just to note, Mr. Bucilli joined the meeting at 5:22 p.m. via phone.
Thank you.
Shall the ZBA continue this matter to April 28th, 2021? Mr. Bucilli? Voting yes. Mr. Lemonna?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Lopes?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Pelton?
Yes.
Voting yes. And Chairman Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this matter will be continued.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, good luck.
While we have it, I'll try to go back to the first calendar item, the second calendar item number that the person wasn't present.
Okay.
Chairman Tucker, I don't see the individual's name at all on the panelist list or under attendees.
Given the opportunity that we waited almost 25 minutes for him to attend. I will open this up if there's any proponents. Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. This has been a site that there was construction done on a permit that was issued approximately 2 years ago for a deck. And as you know, I requested that the fire department take a look at this, also the building department. And this structure is just enormous. You could not access the rear of this property, God forbid if there was a fire or a medical aid. And it's a large gathering room, which is, it's against our whole ordinances. And I guess it's against the building code as well. I don't want to be quoted on that, but I believe that's the case as well. So I would ask that this be denied and ask for a roll call, please. Based on all of the information that we have, I would ask for a denial and a roll call.
Chairman Tucker, did you want those reasons of denial to be read into the record?
If you don't mind, please,
Okay.
yes.
Number one, the construction of the additional structure to the east side of the garage blocks off direct access to the backyard and creates access issues for the yard behind the structure, which could delay emergency response into the yard and places the structure closer to adjacent structures in the area, increasing housing density beyond what is permitted in the zoning ordinances. And two, the ZBA finds that the existing structure for which you are seeking variances, or the applicant is seeking variances, nullifies and substantially deviates from the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinances of the city of Revere and is with substantial detriment to the public good. So on that, in accordance with those reasons, shall the zoning board of appeals grant this variance? Mr. Bucilli? Voting yes. Mr. Lemonna?
Oh, can you repeat that, Ashley, to clarify what we're voting on?
Yes, to clarify, you always ask the question in the affirmative, board members. So if the ZBA wishes to deny this application, you would be voting, a yes vote means you want to grant the variance, a no vote means you are denying the variance, okay?
Thank you.
Shall the zoning board of appeals grant the variance being requested for 95 Prospect Avenue? Mr. Bucilli? Voting yes. Mr. Lemonna?
No.
Voting no. Mr. Lopes?
No.
Voting no. Mr. Pelton?
No.
Voting no, and Chairman Tucker?
No.
No, the
Michael,
zoning board of appeals grants, the zoning board of appeals denies the variance request.
sorry. Michael, should you put that the building was built without the improper building permits for the record?
It's listed in their record. The building department has that listed. It's not, that building wasn't built with a permit, so.
No, but what was built without a permit, I'm saying.
Wasn't it a deck, Michael, if I correct?
Yes.
It was just a deck on that, John.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just a deck.
Okay, our next calendar item number, please.
Next calendar item number, A2111, Core States Group, Alan Roscoe, on behalf of and with permission by record owner, 9 Galen Street, Suite 117, Watertown, Mass. 02472, seeking a variance of section 17-28145 of the revised ordinances of the city of Revere with respect to stacking lanes for all drive up windows shall be a minimum of 200 feet to allow the appellant to construct a bank with a drive-through stacking lane approximately 82 feet in length at 339 Squire Road.
Is the applicant present or his?
Attorney
Both.
Emilio
Yes.
Favorito here for the applicant.
Okay,
Okay, starting my video. There we go. My name is Attorney Emilio Favorito, 7 Dawes Street, Dorchester, 02125 on behalf of the applicant who, as the clerk explained, is seeking a variance in order to allow a stacking lane length for the proposed Chase Bank less than required by the code. The location of the proposed bank is, as noted in the documents that were submitted, between the existing Uno's and the existing McDonald's. The stacking length is proposed is similar to the existing stacking length that it also exists within the same plaza with respect to the Eastern Bank. There's the Taco Bell is also another situation where you have a stacking length within the plaza of less than required.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other proponents that wish to speak? I see one hand raised, and that's Bob O'Brien. Good evening, Bob. If you just unmute yourself, you're all set.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll defer to Councilor Sereno if he wishes to speak on this matter, as I always do. Councilor?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I might. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien. I just want to speak in support of this variance. I do think a Chase Bank will be a welcome addition to Northgate. It'll be, dare I say, I think one of the nicer tenants that will occupy the shopping center, and I think it will bring a lot of good to Revere. May I just ask the applicant a quick question? I know in other Chase Banks that like some of them have cafes and some of them are more than just a bank. Is this going to be more than just a bank or simply a bank?
Alan, could you address that one, please?
Certainly. There's no such thing as just another bank, but yeah, to your point, most of the banks will have, they call it a cafe or a living room. They don't call it a lobby or common space, but that can be worked out, but I do believe it is planned unless there's an objection. It's another feature that Chase is providing to their inroads here into the Northeast. And if you've seen any of their completed banks, they do kind of set themselves apart. So unless there's an objection, we would probably include that as part of the customer service.
Well, I'm excited to welcome Chase into Ward 6, and I think this will be a great thing. So thank you, Alan, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I will then proceed as Bob O'Brien. I'm Director of Economic Development for the City of Revere. And on behalf of the city administration, we stand in support of this application. As the councilor has indicated, we are very eager to have a branch bank of the quality of Chase with a national and international reputation. And we think their coming to Revere is a tribute to our community, and we welcome it. I would also say that the location proposed for this branch bank is in a relatively underutilized portion of the very large Northgate shopping center, and we don't expect that there will be any queuing problems at this location, and certainly no queuing problems that will involve public way. For all of those reasons, we very much urge your support of this variance application, and we look forward to the opening of this bank in the near future. Thank you.
Okay, are there anyone else? Oh, Tony, I see that you want to speak. Council President Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just simply want to speak as a proponent for this, for all the reasons my colleague from Ward 6 and the semi-retired Chief of Economic Development. So I'm certainly in favor of this proposal.
Thank you, Tony. And I would have deferred to you had I known you wished to speak.
No problem, sir.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak as a proponent? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. Are there any opponents? Anyone opposed? Seeing and hearing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. I do have one question, and I defer this to Bob O'Brien, is that there is no, in the application, they're not requesting a parking variance. And I don't see how this could be built on a parcel when you're taking away a parking from the entire parcel, which it does, I believe, require a variance. But unfortunately, Frank was not available to answer that question. So Bob, I defer to you, because you may
Yeah,
have.
I will say, and I will ask Emilio to speak to this as well. It was discussed in some detail with Frank, who, as you indicated, is not available for today's meeting. And I assume as a result of that discussion, it was determined that there was not a parking variance issue. Frankly, had there been, considering the location of this proposed branch bank, we would have supported this in any case. But Emilio, could you speak to that issue?
My understanding is that within the confines of the existing lot, there is adequate space for the erection of the sufficient number of spaces to make up for those which the construction of the building subtracts from the total, and that the use adds.
Mr. Chairman?
That has
I
been
do,
represented.
okay, I see that, Bob. I do see that Deputy Chief Chivas would like to, his hand's raised. If you wish to speak, you may do so by unmuting. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may, Frank and I spoke about this in some great detail because we're worried about queuing through the area and making sure that we had emergency access. This is actually, if you're driving down Squire Road in the middle of the winter, this is actually the area where they'll traditionally pile a lot of their snow. So then it's going to have to relocate the snow to the back of the building. It is an underutilized, it's probably like the councilor said, this is the one last parcel over there that's underutilized. So even during the height of the use of this plaza, this area has never really had any parking taken up in this area. So if that helps you with understanding the use.
That helps very much, as long as it was spoken of, and I do trust
And
you.
I can add one
so-
thing.
Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, just to echo everybody's conversation, this was recognized early on in the due diligence phase of our project. We found out that the parcel is underparked presently, but there is space to the north and in behind to add striped spaces that will bring the parking count in compliance. So in that sense, we do not foresee the need to apply for a parking variance. There will be enough parking to suit all the existing uses and the Chase Bank.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to speak? Okay, seeing and hearing none, I would ask that I read the conditions into the record. And there are 3 conditions listed. If the right authorized by the variance are not exercised within 1 year of the date of the grant of this variance, the right shall lapse. This variance shall not be valid until the appellant has recorded the variance and plans in the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds and submits the document recording numbers and dates to the city clerk and the building inspector of the city of Revere. The applicants must receive site plan review approval prior to applying for the permit. So that if we were to grant this tonight, you do go back in front of site plan review for approval. I would ask for a roll call, please.
Shall the zoning board of appeals grant the variance being requested by the applicant? Mr. Bucilli? Voting yes. Mr. Lemonna?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Lopes?
Yes.
Voting yes. Mr. Pelton?
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Tucker?
Yes.
Yes, this variance has been granted, subject to the findings and conditions of the zoning board of appeals.
Thank you all.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Next
Thank you,
calendar
Bob.
item. Next calendar item is A21-12 on the application of David A. De Rutola, 62 Festa Road, requesting a variance of section 1724-010 of the revised ordinances of the city of Revere with respect to minimum front yard setback to enable the appellant to construct a second-story addition on lot 15 at 62 Festa Road.
And the applicant is present.
Yes.
Okay. Just for clarification, they did submit a new plot plan with the parking on the plot plan. Now, this is a single-family home, am I correct?
Yes, correct.
So it only requires 2 parking. I think you have the carport. So are you showing 3 parking spaces on the new plan? Ashley, do
Yeah,
you-
we did show, because I didn't know if the garage would count as a parking space. We gotta close the garage, so.
To confirm, Chairman Tucker, yes, there's 3 spaces showing, 2 to the left of the new proposed garage, which also contains a parking space.
Okay. And this is a carport, or are you going to now enclose that and make it a garage?
No, it's gonna be enclosed as a garage.
Is that it's very hard on this to see that depicted in the plan. Does that show in the plan, Ashley, if you can see it?
I'm gonna pull it up now.
Show that it's enclosed. The first plot plan that we sent to the city, it doesn't, but now that we revised it, so it should show.
The new plan does indicate that the carport will now be enclosed.
Okay, and have you spoken to the ward council in your area?
Yes, we did. Actually, my wife spoke with.
Okay, now I'm concerned that a new plan's being presented and that was not put in front of site plan review for review. And I see that the deputy chief is on here, but I don't know if there's going to be concerns about the fire codes or the building codes. So Chief, if you'd like to say anything, if this has to go back in front of site plan review before we could even vote on this.
So thank you. Full disclosure, they're my neighbors. So I, and have rights to site plan. So I got my letter and I went in and looked at the drawings. The drawings that are in there show it as a garage, an enclosed garage. So if I may, I understand the variance they need is for the projection on the front for the entrance, which is to make room for the stairs. So it's into the 20-foot offset. So I'll speak as the fire department, but I'll also speak, if I may now, I'll speak in favor of the variance for them. They're great neighbors, good family. It's minimum impact as far as, from fire department or anything like that, and some minor offset into the 20 feet.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other proponents? Anyone else wish to speak? Counselor? I think Counselor Serino. Okay, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to go on record that I am in support, especially now hearing that the deputy, who I know is a neighbor, is also in support and doesn't have an issue. No other neighbors have weighed in, and the Tanza family is a good family I've known for years, so I'm happy to support this.
Okay, thank you. Are there anyone else wish to speak? I'll close that side of the hearing. Any opponents? Anyone opposed? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close that side of the hearing. I did raise the questions as far as the plan that was submitted, because looking at the plan to the right, it looks like there was a parking space, which cannot happen because we are not granting a variance for front yard parking. That's something that the city does not look upon. They really don't like the front yard parking. So seeing that you put the 2 parking spaces on the side, one in the garage and one outside of the garage, you're not really required to have the 3rd, but you have that there. I feel that you did answer my concerns. The plan itself, I would think, would have to have a stamp on it and be submitted once we approve to the Registry of Deeds accordingly. I don't believe that new plan is actual stamp drawing. Am I right, Ashley?
Chairman Tucker, I did catch that, and I did notify Ms. Tanza that it did need to be stamped. I do have the stamped version on record here in the office.
Beautiful. Okay. Then I will read into the record the conditions that are put upon anything that we're voting on. And that's If the right authorized by the variance are not exercised within 1 year of the date of the grant of this variance, the right shall lapse. This variance shall not be valid until the applicant has recorded the variance and plans in the Suffolk County Registry of Deeds and submits documents recording numbers and dates to the city clerk and the building inspector of the city of Revere. The application must receive site plan review approval prior to applying for a building permit. The applicant has no issues with those conditions. And then I would ask for a motion to approve and roll call, please.
Shall the zoning board of appeals grant the relief requested subject to the conditions of the zoning board of appeals? Mr. Bucilli? Voting yes, Mr. Lemonna.
Yes.
Voting yes, Mr. Lopes.
Yes.
Voting yes, Mr. Pelton.
Yes.
Yes, and Chairman Tucker.
Yes.
Yes, the variance request has been granted.
Thank you so much.
No further business, Chairman.
Good luck.
Having no further business, our next meeting will be April 28th at 5 p.m. Thank you and have a good evening.
Have a good one, everyone.
You as well. Take
Thank
care,
you.
Michael. Thank you, Ashley.